What if I told you that the trade dispute happening just a few kilometers away with our neighbors down to the south was going to directly have an impact on BC's housing market? The ongoing tension between Canada and the United States is creating some serious uncertainty, both in our economy, in our markets, and yes, even our real estate market. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down some of the key points and how they are going to affect you, whether it's your short-term real estate plans or your long-term plans. So whether you're buying, selling, investing, or just watching from the sidelines, this is some information you're absolutely going to want to have, and let's jump into it. All right, first things first, what's going on with this trade dispute? There are several flashpoints between Canada and the US, but we are just going to touch the surface on a few of the main ones. Softwood lumber tariffs. It's been around for decades, it's been an issue between our two countries forever, and will continue to be an issue between our two countries. Agricultural exports is another really big one, specifically dairy and grains. And then the last ones we're just gonna kind of group together, and that's going to be resources, automotive manufacturing, and manufacturing policies, but mostly on the American side because Canada feels like they've become too protectionist in recent years. And then now you're hearing about retaliatory tariffs. Wow. Now, this isn't just political theater. This is real policy, real pressure, and real impact. And when economic confidence is low, you better believe that the real estate market is going to feel it. So let's put on our detective hats and start to connect some of the dots here. How does something like a trade dispute actually end up affecting home buyers and home sellers here in BC? Well, let's break it down. Let's say the cost of materials go up, like softwood lumber tariffs, for example, or any other material that we might trade with or get from the United States. Now, all of a sudden, construction costs are up, and that is going to affect every segment of the real estate market, whether that's new builds, pre-sales, or even people doing renovations. And when building costs go up and things get more expensive, guess what? Developers get concerned. They may delay projects, they may put pauses on projects for a year or two or longer. They may even cancel projects if the cost to actually build these things spirals out of control. And when that happens, it does create a supply shortage. Now, you won't feel the effects of it in the next, 2, 3, 4 years, but you will feel it down the road because that is potentially hundreds, if not thousands of homes that never end up being built. And I guess that would also then beg the question, what do you think would happen if there is a supply shortage? I mean, can you think of any recent examples in which something like that might have occurred? And another dot we're going to want to connect is currency shifts. As I'm sure you are aware, the Canadian dollar is in a fantastic place right now. And if you do see the Canadian dollar continue to drop compared to the US dollar, all of a sudden, everything that we import from the US gets that much more expensive, and that will then permeate, every level of real estate here, whether on the builder's end, the end user's end, from mortgages, all of it. And one area you're really gonna see that impact is on the investor side of things. And I know a lot of people here have, some people have kind of tried to vilify investors, but that's just really not the case. And also at the end of the day, you need them in a real estate market to ensure that it just continues to run smoothly. Like, you might not be aware, but if a developer wants to build a high-rise or a low-rise or whatever it is, they need to show that they have a proof of concept and generally need to sell about 60% of it before they even get approved for their financing. Well, who do you think most of these people buying into these high rises or these pre-sale projects are? Yes, there are end users, but there also are a healthy amount of investors getting into those projects as well. And if those projects are not being built, like I mentioned before, then that creates a housing supply shortage, and that has a whole whack of issues associated with it as well. We also have a real-world example we can use right here, and that is back in 2017, so not too long ago, and that was one of the more recent softwood lumber tariff spikes. And at that time, there were a bunch of developers that did delay and or cancel projects because some of their costs had jumped up by about 25%, which is huge. And now you're probably thinking, so what does this have to do with me? How does it affect me? Well, it really depends where you are in this equation. Are you somebody that does have real estate goals for this year? because whether you're a buyer or seller, you're gonna be in a couple of different scenarios here. If you're a buyer, this uncertainty has actually created some really great opportunities in the market for active buyers. If you were paying attention to the market towards the end of last year, you would have noted that October, November, and December all saw spikes in total volume across all of the months, 30% year over year, and even January was a decently busy month. However, those brakes have now been pumped. So if you are a buyer out there, guess what? The cost to borrow money is low. You have a ton of inventory and little competition out there. These are really good conditions for a buyer. And the thing people don't think about is, in order for these really good buyer conditions to actually exist, you need uncertainty in the market, because often it's uncertainty that pushes interest rates down and keeps the larger majority of prospective buyers from actually entering the market in the first place. Because many buyers out there, especially if they're first-time buyers, they want a bright green light that says, go, do it now, now's a good time. And you know, when you have that bright green light saying that, it's probably a decent time, but it's not the best. And if you're a seller in this market, don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom, but you do have to have realistic expectations for what the market conditions currently are and what the market will bear for your home. I do talk to a lot of people and they're talking about, you know, I want prices from, 3-4 years ago. And unfortunately, that's just not going to happen right now. Inventory levels are high, and generally your average days on market is longer than it has been in the last few years. But if you've done the right strategy, you've priced your home appropriately, or maybe you've taken, a bit of the extra time to actually make sure your home shows really well, you can have really great results. It's just you do have to work a little harder for it right now than you have in, some of the more recent years. Because remember, uncertainty and fear in the housing market doesn't always lead to lower prices, but what it does do is it does slow things down. And for you stats people out there, BCREA reports that in times of economic stress, generally you're going to see sales volumes drop by 10 to 15% before you even start to see prices start to adjust. What I always say to people is pay attention to the level of activity going on, not just the average price point month to month. So you're probably thinking, what should I do with this information? Or should I even do anything with this information? Well, if you're a buyer, don't panic, just be strategic. You have a ton of options and conditions are really great for you. One thing I would consider is probably look at resale over pre-sale if delays with construction or uncertain timelines are something that is a big concern to you. And if you're a seller, it's got to be, take the extra time and do the extra work to ensure that your home, when it does hit the market, just shows as well as possible. Just you are competing with more people now, and your neighbor may be a little bit more motivated to sell than you are. So it's just, important to be competitive. And I know we just sort of scratched the surface on what this trade dispute could mean for a real estate market here. I will be looking to probably do one that is more in depth. But at the end of the day, we got to get to the question, will this trade dispute disrupt or crash our real estate market here in BC? And the answer is, well, not overnight, but it can affect construction, confidence, and buyers within the market. And that over time will definitely have an effect the longer this drags on. So if you want to know how this could affect your next step, I'd love it if you reached out to me. Every week I have people do the exact same as we try and plan their next steps. I can be reached at the contact information down below. And hey, if you found this information helpful, I would absolutely love it if you smash that like button, give me a subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. What do you think this trade war will do to our real estate market here? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And as always, thank you for watching. I'm Damian March, your local expert here, and I'll see you in the next one.